As a writer, you might want your words read by somebody. If that's you, then it's important that your words are clear and your message understandable, because you want readers to delve deep inside your stories and not trip over your sentences, right? So let's dive deep into this series on writing what you mean. Hello writers in training, I'm Shannon, writing under the pen name S.C. Huston and author of Blood of the Lily and Soul of a Rose. And welcome to my channel where I show writers like you how to develop your writing skills and self-publish your work. For many years, I taught college English and literature and ran my own business as a writing coach. So I'm bringing my knowledge and experience to this series. This concept all starts with word choices and sentence constructions. And this series will have one core concept. Every word is important. Intuitively, you may know this already, but take a look at this sentence. Colorless green ideas sleep furiously. Is this grammatically correct? I'll give you a second to think about it. What's your answer? Was it no? You might have said no because this sentence makes no sense, but it might surprise you to learn that this is a grammatically correct sentence. A basic sentence has a subject and a predicate, a noun and a verb. And then you can add in other parts of speech. As you can see with this sentence, you can construct something that on the outside is correct, but it makes no sense to the reader. Let's look at another sentence. The complex houses married and single soldiers and their families. Is this a grammatically correct sentence? Here we have a noun and a verb. But what about the rest of the sentence? This is when we realize that our first assumption about the verb and the predicate might have been wrong, because this is the noun, this is the verb, and this is the whole predicate. Again, this is a grammatically correct sentence, but it's hard to figure out what this sentence was trying to say. As writers, we don't want our readers to struggle over the meaning of our sentences, because then we'll lose them. With this in mind, let's see how we can improve our sentence clarity to communicate effectively with the reader. Common clarity problems come from the structure of a sentence. Sentence structure starts with word choices. These clarity problems with word choices often stem from nouns, verbs, modifiers, and pronouns. Do you remember the parts of speech? Noun, verb, adjective, adverb, article, pronoun, etc. I will not be talking about the basics, the definitions of these. So if you don't recall the parts of speech, I suggest reviewing these before continuing. Let's start with nouns. More specifically, we'll look at concrete versus abstract nouns. I love how one website, The Narrative Arc, starts a conversation about concrete and abstract nouns. Verbs bring the action, but nouns shape the sentence. Concrete nouns are the actors, the players who strut and fret within the worlds we create. They are the furnishings, the props, the open places needed to create the semblance of reality. And as often as possible, these things should be concrete. As writers, it's our job to create the worlds our readers will live in and breathe in. As readers, we shun the abstract and latch onto the tangible. So what's the difference between concrete and abstract nouns? Concrete nouns are nouns that can be identified through one of the five senses: taste, touch, sight, hearing, or smell, like people, animals, places, and objects. Abstract nouns cannot be perceived through a sense organ, eyes, ears, nose, skin, tongue, such as love, freedom, time, bravery. These fall into big categories like actions and events, ideas, states of mind, qualities, and conditions. Love as a noun is abstract because you cannot see, hear, smell, taste, or touch it. So why should you care about the difference? Abstract words are open to interpretation. Most of us may know what value and meaning we attach to love, but what does love mean to a serial abuser? Including abstract nouns in your writing can cause confusion if a person interprets it differently than how you meant it. This often leads readers to spend more effort to understand what you mean. Abstract nouns also often lead to unnecessary wordiness, which can make your writing sound stiff and obscure your logic. One example I've always loved to use is this: people may live in a house, but they don't all have a home. Think about the abused person. What if their abuser is their spouse or parent? They may not think of their house as a home. So what if you use abstract words? It's bound to happen as we peddle in themes such as love conquers all, faith versus doubt, emptiness of attaining false dreams, free will versus fate, power and corruption, good versus evil. These are all abstract nouns and ideas. Using abstract words in your writing makes context clues important. In writing, context refers to information that helps readers accurately interpret the meaning of your work, which can include things like background information or details about the circumstances, environment, or time frame. This is where you want to make sure that your context clues contain concrete nouns, so your meaning is clear. Let's go back to the idea of a house. If you want your readers to identify your protagonist's house with the idea of an abusive and scary home, you first have to give context clues for your reader to interpret it correctly. Here's a made-up scene. Susan's fiance stops the car outside of her childhood home. Bill turns the ignition off. Are you ready to go inside? Her words whisper mist against the glass. No. If I continue the scene with Bill and Susan entering the house without any other context, the reader may not know how to feel about the house and default to their own experiences of what a house means to them. Let's add a little more. Susan's fiance stops the car outside of her childhood home, and she winces at the crunch of gravel beneath the wheels. Bill turns the ignition off. Silence lingers for long moments before he finally clears his throat, his tone carrying false bravado. Are you ready to go inside? Susan stares out the window. The short, squat house reminds her of a tightly balled fist. Streaks of rust from the tin roof slash down white siding like the fingers of an angry hand. Her words whisper against the glass. No. Hopefully this helps you see the difference in concrete and abstract nouns and how you can improve your writing. For those of you who have experience with writing, you may already do this, but I think it's important to be able to see this in your work and to purposefully craft your words. Next, we're going to talk about verbs. Of course, it won't be as simple as what a verb is. We're going to dive into passive versus active voice. But before moving on to verbs, I want to point out that I won't be talking about adverbs in this series. However, do you know which one is the bane of my writing life and should be cut? If you don't, you can watch my video, Concise Writing, Cut This Word Now, where I reinforce the importance of word choices and why they make a difference in how readers understand your writing. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today, and happy writing.